Alright, I decided to come back down to shop tonight and put pistons in this block. I've got one and number 2 done. And I'd have to say they went quite nicely. Connecting rod nuts are torqued to 40 foot-pounds. I don't have any keepers in them yet, but I may have to change some nuts around so that the holes line up. Anyhow, I'm going to do number 3. I think I'll just set you up here and you can watch. The first thing I do is number 3 piston. Notch goes to the front. First thing I do is put a little oil on it. Oil the rings, oil the skirts, because you can fight it now or you can oil it. Besides that, if you oil the rings up, they kind of stick in the grooves and they don't rotate on you. Piston ring compressor. Open it up. Need to set my ring gaps here so they're, I don't know, usually about 30 degrees off each other, just so none of them are lined up. The mechanics teacher always told me that if you had a good cross hatch, they'd never stay in the same place anyhow, because the cross hatch would keep them turning. And tighten up this ring compressor. Gotta get it down so that your rings are completely compressed. That ought to be good. It's tight around the bottom. Take the rod cap off. Check your caps, make sure there's no dirt. And then turn it around here. And we'll oil the bore. Not too much. And then we need wooden hammer handle. Notch forward. And the other thing is make sure the crank journal's up out of the way. Slide it in. Once you feel the ring compressor loose, take it away. And we'll roll the block on over. And this is what we got. I'm gonna get my fingers pinched in the cam gear here. I ain't careful. Turns fairly easy. All right, we'll get this over here. Pull it up a bit. I was concerned about the rods being centered because see, this is offset. The center of the rod is offset to one side, and I was concerned about the rods being centered in the pistons. And it turns out they're perfect. As you can see here, the piston pin clamp bolt is on this side on this one, that side on that one, so they want them flipped around. So all right, now we need bearings, and we have Molly Cleveite bearings. I didn't say what they are, but they're, well, the A&I tag says they're connecting rod 10 thousandths undersize. Oil holes. Both sides have oil holes in. A lot of them are upper and lower. The lower won't have any oil holes in it. So let me set you up here and we'll put these on. You got to remember to line up your notches. With the notch there. Likewise with this, I'm gonna wipe this down before I do anything with it. Just to make sure there's no lint, grease, dirt in there. And I'm just gonna lay this notch here into that groove right there. Snap it down in. Alright, now STP. I'm going to oil the bottom of top connecting rod bearing. Right there. And there is holes in the top of the, or in the connecting rod for lubrication. Those are lubrication holes that are open, and it is splash lubricated on the connecting rods only. Alright, we're going to set you up here because I'm going to need both hands to pull that rod up here. And it figures. Need to push that piston back down a hair. Or so I can get the rod over top, crank pin. Hold up, there you go. Everything's good there. This side I'm going to put a little oil on. What I'm getting out here, where are you at here? Little tiny piece of plastic gauge, and I'm going to lay it across that. And then the cap, and you got to line that notch up with a notch on the top side. And we torque it down. But first, I want these little shims in between the cap and the connecting rod. You just snap them in there. We do the other side too. Alice Chalmers put them in here so that years down the road you could pull them out, regain your oil pressure. They weren't made to be throwaways, that's for sure. Now 40 foot-pounds. And I'm using the old beam type torque wrench because my clicker type torque wrenches are at the shop. Bump out a little bit. You can see how much that's smashed in there. That's millimeters. So there's like 1.5 thousandths oil clearance, which is pretty good. So we're going to leave the shims the way they are. And now we just take your fingernail. I had somebody say once you could leave that stuff in there. It's just wax, but I don't trust that. I'm going to scrape it all out of there and wipe it off good. And the reason I plastic gauge stuff is because that's your last wipe it all out of there. Plastic gauge it because that's your last, if anything else is wrong, it'll show up there. The journal's the wrong size, the wrong bearings. It'll show up there. Get it all cleaned out. Get the crank all wiped off. And I hate using a rag, but I like using oily fingers. That way you don't leave any lint. Or STP. Line up the bearing notches. Make sure your shims are centered in there and they ain't on the bearing shelf. I think Alice Chalmers is the only one I know that shimmed the bearing caps. Uh-oh. Rod bolt turned. Didn't have that happen very often. And drop the hammer. Knock it out. Let's see how the head of it is. That goes up against the rod. So we'll stick it back up in there. I'm gonna loosen the other side up again. Fell down. Figures. Clear down in the piston. Alright, let's get it back up in there. The shims will cause me an issue. At least on that side they were. Yeah, getting it up in there is going to be a challenge now. Get the cap back off of it again. Figures. Alright, I'm going to have to bring it back here. I did the other two without an issue, but this one's giving me fits. Alright, I wanted to show how I got this thing sorted out. I threaded the nut half on the rod bolt, half on this other stud, which I think is a rocker stud, and then screwed it on there like that. You know, screwed it on there like that, and then I put the pry bar underneath it and popped it up just like that. And it went right in. It was just one of them things being difficult, and it's loose in there. It's not tight, it's just wants to fall down. I don't know. Alright, so now I'm going to put the cap back on, torque it down. I think I'm going to call it a night, but I got to put my shim back on there. Put the cap back on and re-torque it. Maybe this time I won't get that rod bolt turned around. So, anyhow, that's what I'm doing tonight. And if I'm lucky, I'll get that fourth one buttoned up tonight. So Probably this video is going to be long enough. So thanks for watching, and there'll be more, I'm sure. Thank you.